Metallica, bringing you the first episode of the Section O podcast. Everybody, how are you doing? Super excited to bring you this show this year. I've seen a 5,000% increase from podcasts last year to who's all doing them this year, and I'm really super excited to bring you some coverage for Eskimo fans. We're going to talk some football, we're going to talk some stats, but more importantly, we're going to interview you guys, the fans. You can probably hear in the background noise, that's day one of training camp. Probably hear Odell Willis from up here. Actually, not going to lie, there's a lot of people came out. Got a lot of people here. They woke up super early and drove out to Spruce. That's great to see. Guys are hungry for their football, so let's do it up. Got an action-packed episode for you. First episode, we're going to knock this bitch out of the park, so let's see what's going on. Rory, how the hell you doing?
Well, other than itching for this CFL season to start, I'm great. How are you?
Not bad. Now, for the people listening in who don't know who Section GP is and how Section GP and Section O came to form an alliance here, why don't we get some background on Section GP, Rory? What's going on? What happens up in Grand Prairie? Tell us how you came to Grand Prairie.
For sure. Well, after growing up in Fairview, Alberta, born and raised there.
Whoa, Rory, you were born in fucking Fairview?
Yeah, born in Fairview, Alberta.
Okay. People, I've known Rory since the 2009 Grey Cup, and I just found something out right now for the first time. Here at the Section O podcast, we learn something new every day. Fairview? All right, carry on.
All right, growing up in Fairview, watching the Eskimos and the Oilers all the time. Anyways, at age 18, moved to Grand Prairie my entire life. After spending my whole childhood life growing up in Fairview, Alberta, passionately watching the CFL, I moved to Grand Prairie, Alberta at age 18, and continued my passion and just get more and more crazy and insane as I've gotten older. So maturity is decreasing, but we're gonna roll that as a positive. And my lovely wife Melanie and I have been passionate CFL fans for our entire relationship. She has
who's louder in football games?
Oh shoot!
Who's louder when she's watching football games?
Me or her?
Yeah, who's the loudest? Who gets the cops called to the house? You or her?
I do.
You get the cops called to your house.
Yeah.
So when the Eskimos are down by 1 or 2 and they fuck something up in the end zone or whatnot, and you're throwing your beer up against the TV, the RCMP are minutes away from your house? Do they have you on speed dial?
They might. Although I've developed a good rapport with the people in the neighborhood. They know that I'm just a crazy beer chugging, minus 20 barbecuing sports fanatic. So it's okay. It should be okay.
Rory, tell us about your grandpa and his history with the Eskimos.
My grandfather was actually part of the inaugural 1949 Edmonton Eskimo football team, rugby football team, in what was then known as the Canadian Rugby Football Union. He actually played just over 2 seasons, 1949 and 50, and then a little bit into 1951 before moving on to college. He was actually present in Clark Stadium when Anna Stukas walked into the dressing room with the U of A Golden Bears green and gold uniforms and said, "Well, guess what, gentlemen? We're stuck wearing green and gold from now on." My grandfather was present for that. The CFL is a part of my blood. The Edmonton Eskimos are a part of my blood, and it shows. It shows. Believe me, it shows.
There's a story out there that Section O and Section GP at the 2009 Grey Cup came together over illegally bootlegging beer in the lineup at the Spirit of Edmonton room. Did you witness that?
I don't know if I witnessed it, but I did hear that story. I might have, in a drunken haze, I might be able to vaguely remember parts of that. Melanie and I were just, decided to go to the Spirit of Edmonton party on the Saturday of Grey Cup weekend because that's a cool thing to do. And we're standing outside the Westin in Calgary, and all of a sudden there's these 2 green and gold fanatics singing the fight song about 462,938 times consecutively. And all of a sudden I realized that I like to sing the fight song 462,938 times consecutively as well. So next thing you know, we're drinking beer in public and singing the fight song for hours and hours and hours without even entering the party. And I think the rest is history.
So we're standing in line, and you're what, about 5 or 6 people ahead of us, and me, Jane, his mom and dad are sitting there, and it's like, you know what? We could use a fucking beer right now.
Yeah.
And so Norm goes, hang on a second. And, okay, he leaves, and me and Jay are like, what's he doing? He comes back with 2 large pizzas and a 6-pack of beer. And it's what? It's probably what, like -10 outside? And the lineup for the Spirit of Edmonton, for everybody that's been there, is probably, I think we waited 2.5 hours. So we slammed those beer, ate the pizza, and then we had 1 beer left, and Buddy behind us is like, hey, I'll give you $5 for that beer. And so Norm sold it to him, and then Jay's light bulb goes off in his head, and he goes, hang on a sec. Goes back to the liquor store, and he comes back with a 12-pack. Sold those beers down the line, and I go, hang on a sec. So I went to the liquor store. I got a fucking flat, a 48-pack of beer, and we sold that all the way through. We made money before even walking in the Spirit of Edmonton, and probably enabled the people with a bunch of bad decisions.
Yeah,
So,
I think you did.
That's the story between Section O and Section GP. You know what? Liquor has a lot of bonding moments.
Sure does.
Did you ever drink the Superstore beer?
I have drank the Superstore beer. I only drink it if I've had at least 8 or 10 dozen regular brand beers first.
That Superstore beer, did you know it's actually Molson Canadian in disguise?
I did not know that.
Do you have a Costco in Grand Prairie?
Yep.
Okay, the Costco vodka Kirkland, swear to God, it's Grey Goose.
Yep, we're all in agreement there.
Yeah, and that Superstore beer, we were actually drinking that beforehand at the 09 Grey Cup. So, yeah, oh boy, was that ever a night? That
was a night. I don't even know if we all even enjoyed the game the next day. I think we did because of how it historically ended. But as far as the 3 hours leading up to that, I don't even know if we were all really having any fun or not.
Well, that game was just a... You know what? See, the Grey Cup game is fun. It's entertaining. I had fun. But just the one in Calgary, they packed in 40,000 people to a stadium that only sits 32,000 comfortably. The lineups to the washroom were an hour and a half long. And so we're sitting there, and we can't get a beer because the concourse is packed. Can't get food. I said, fuck this. At halftime, I didn't want to watch Blue Rodeo.
Yeah, and they sold out. They sold out of liquor.
Yeah, did they?
Yeah, during that game. They sold out during the game.
Holy Jesus. So I ran across the street to Motel Village where we were staying. I stole Jay's flask, filled it with vodka, ran back into the stadium, and for the third and fourth quarter, we were drinking quadruple screwdrivers, and I remember stumbling out of that stadium going, Saskatchewan can't count, kindergarten math lost you the Grey Cups, you idiots, ah! And, anyway, that was my first travel Grey Cup. So,
gotcha.
What a way to come together, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. The CFL will never be the same after Section GP and Section O joined forces in 09.
No, we shook things up a bit, and you know what? 100% kudos. Do you know who started this whole thing? The Box J Boys.
They did.
The Box J Boys, we idolized for a while, and we're like, we want to be like those guys, because Edmonton never really had a fan identity. So, and I'm not saying we're the be-all, end-all to anything, but, you know, it's nice to see people identifying now and becoming friends over a common ground over the Eskimos like you and I did, and I'm friends with a bunch of other people that you only solely know through the Eskimos, and it's great.
Yep, and we need to keep this going. I can't be any more passionate about us needing, as a whole, as an empire, as a fan group, I can't be any more passionate about us increasing our intensity, our noise, our knowledge, our passion, everything. And mostly our pride of our region and our football organization that we love so much.
You know, it's funny you mentioned pride, because when we were at the 2013 Grey Cup, we were out having something to eat, me and Jay and Peter, and we were sitting in a bar, and we were just bad-mouthing Darian Durant and Getzlaff, and Buddy comes up to us, he's like, oh yeah, well, Edmonton sucks, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen here. Buddy in a bar bad-mouths the Eskimos, and he's like, yeah, go Lions, go Riders. Like, you bad-mouth the New York Yankees in New York, and you're going to get slapped in the mouth.
That's exactly right. You walk down the north side of Chicago and you tear into how crappy the Cubs are because they haven't won a World Series since 1604. And someone's gonna backhand you in the teeth for sure because they're proud of it. That's their team. That's their region. For them, that's the best. That's number one. In Regina, the Riders went 148 billion years without winning anything, and that's still number one. They're the best because that's their favorite. And in Edmonton, we also need to feel like that's the best because that's our favorite team. This is our football club, so therefore, they're the best because that's who our team is. Instead of us kind of sitting around going, oh, well, the organization is struggling. Oh, the general manager did something I didn't like. Oh, the quarterback did something I didn't like. Oh, I don't care anymore, and I'm not going to cheer anymore, and I'm just going to sit here and I don't care. I am going absolutely crazy. When we make our annual trip, and sometimes it's more than once a year, but at least once a year, our annual trip to Commonwealth Stadium, on every down...
Which is 5 hours away.
Right.
So that's dedication right there.
On every down on defense, and in particular on second down, I get off of my chair, and yeah, I don't want to block anyone's view of the game, but as often as I can, I'll get off from my chair and make as much noise as possible, flail my arms around. I do the hand wave where you try to get people to get up. I do that constantly, trying to get people excited. And there is some awesome fans. They're up there in Section O in the upper bowl, you fellas. They're down there in Section U, down by the visitor bench. Section S has people that we know. On the other side, the Eskimo bench side, there's people that we know. But I'm talking about a few dozen people. In Regina, there's 30-some thousand or 40,000 people. They're all off their butt. They're making just huge noise. They're going absolutely crazy, and they're showing their knowledge and their passion. When I do this at Commonwealth Stadium, I get some smiles, but what drives me crazy is I actually get some looks of disapproval from my Eskimo brother and sisters, and I just still, years later, cannot wrap my head around it, and I am not going to waver. I am going to continue to try to inspire people to get off your butt and make some noise for this football team. We didn't look forward to this all week, all month, all year, just sit down in a chair for 3 hours and drink a coffee and have a chit-chat about yesterday's badminton match down at the high school. Like, can we actually support this football team, have some fun, and make some noise the way that every other football fan in North America does?
You know what my biggest thing was? I don't know how it came across on TV, but do you remember the Western semifinal? There was only 26,000 people in the stands, and it was cold. And it was only the give a shit crowd that was there, because everybody else was at home watching on TV. But the energy and the passion that was in that stadium, it was probably the loudest I've seen Commonwealth in a very long time. And it was only 26,000. Could you imagine if we had 35, 40 in there just going buck wild?
I know. And because I was not at that game, I can't tell you what it was like on TV. I actually just rewatched that game about 10 days ago, so it's pretty fresh in my mind. On TV, it actually seemed very loud and passionate, and I was very impressed watching it. And of course, I bought into that. I'm watching on TV. My whole neighborhood had to listen to us. And when I found out the attendance a few hours after the game, when I read it online, I was flabbergasted. I certainly, despite the weather, I certainly thought there'd be at least 35 to 40. And when I found out about that, okay, there was a little bit of disappointment that maybe not more tickets were sold, but that's okay. That is what it is. You know, the team struggled for a few seasons, and that was our first playoff game, and it was a bit of a colder day. And but kudos to everybody that was there. Any of you that are listening out there, my God, great job. Let's keep up the passion.
All right, so the Eskimos are kicked out of Commonwealth. So they're playing their preseason game up in Fort Mac against the Riders. And funny be it, half the province already works in Fort McMurray.
Yeah.
Do you think the residents of Fort McMurray are gonna tolerate all these watermelon heads running around in the street?
It's a fantastic question. I think the watermelon hens are going to be so drunk on Pilsner, they might actually cause a bit of a problem. But they're going to be pretty disappointed.
Rider fans causing a problem? No, Rider fans never cause a problem.
Well, I don't know, but we're going to find out how much of a problem they can cause after they get their butts totally shelled by the green and gold.
You know what? Pilsner's got to be like the number one beer sold in Fort McMurray. It's not Superstore quality. It's not Superstore beer, because everybody knows Superstore beer is the best beer for cheap that you can buy. But Pilsner's a close second if you want to forget what country you're living in.
Sure.
On game day, what's in Rory's beer fridge?
In the beer fridge, we usually do a bit of a salad. But typically, Molson Canadian, Molson Dry, Coors Light, and Bud Light are the top four. But we are a pretty open-minded beer-drinking household. And there is probably 3 or 4 other brands.
What do you got for hard liquor?
Hard liquor, shots of spiced rum. My new favorite is the Captain Morgan Silver Spiced Rum. Good old 35%. It's clear, not gold, like the original Captain Morgan Spiced Rum. And it's just got a delicious taste to it. It's a great shot. I don't do any pop drinks. I don't sit here and drink gallons of sugar pop. I do shots. There's enough sugar in my beer and my shots as it is.
You drink shots of rum?
I drink shots of rum outside in any weather, barbecuing 2 or 3 hours before the game so that I can have a full meal an hour before the game so that I don't get alcohol poisoning from the 24-pack of beer I drink during the first quarter.
So, you want to do a little cheer here. Signing off on this interview here, give me your loudest cheer that you use.
We just want everybody in the Eskimo Empire to step up their game. I'm sick and tired of hearing about how the Saskatchewan Roughriders have such a passionate, knowledgeable fan base. It's time to step it up and make some noise, because we are the Green and Gold!
Green and Gold!
The Great Defenders!
Great Defenders!
Sworn by these colors to do one job!
One job!
Defend the turf!
Defend the turf!
I think the police are coming to my house.
Yeah!
All right, Rory. Well, we'll check back in after the game in episode 2, and we'll take her from there. So, in the meantime, if you need bail money, because that game's on TSN, just give me a shout.
Yep.
And go Esks go!
Go Esks go!
And everybody, my first guest on the debut episode of the Section O podcast. Buddy, you've got episode 1. How do you feel episode 1? We got Lakbir Bains. This is a great story that I want to share with everybody who's been around the CFL and Canada being a Canadian league, and traditionally our values in Canada is diversity, acceptance, and tolerance. And this is a powerful story that I want to share with you guys. And this is everything that the Canadian Football League is about, in my mind. We met at the first time face-to-face last year at the Grey Cup, hey?
Yes.
Yeah, and was that your first Grey Cup?
No, that was my third.
Oh, really? So which Grey Cups did you go to before?
So the very first time, I'll give you a little bit background on how I came to know CFL and when I started attending Grey Cups. When I first moved to Edmonton, I didn't know anything. Well, I've gone to a game before, but I really started to know CFL when I moved to Edmonton. And as a result, I moved with a guy who was from Saskatchewan. Of course, he was a Rider fan. So he started teaching me a little bit about football, but I didn't take much interest. But I started watching games. And I watched a few games. I liked it. Every season I would watch 2-3 games. And so I watched a few games in 2009, and that's when all the 13th Amendment debacle happened. After watching that Grey Cup game, I became a fan. So after that, the Grey Cup game was in Edmonton. So I said, okay, I'm going to see what this is all about. So I applied to be a volunteer there. And I got accepted, so I was a volunteer with the Grey Cup. And I kind of liked the atmosphere, and I decided maybe I'll go to a live games the next time. While I was volunteering, where I work, one of my manager offered me a ticket to go to the Grey Cup. So that was my very first Grey Cup in Edmonton.
That was, if I remember, a super cold game. And for people that aren't familiar with your background, they could probably hear your accent over the audio. You are originally East Indian from Dubai.
Yes. East Indian, but I grew up in Dubai.
And you grew up in Dubai, and then you came to Canada in 2004, not knowing anything about the Canadian Football League. Tell us about your journey from Dubai and what brought you to Canada.
Well, when I came to First Canada, I just turned 19, and originally I wasn't coming to Canada. All my friends went to Australia. I was going to Australia, and the consultant I went through, he somehow convinced my dad to come to Canada. He said it's as good as Australia. So I just want to go out, so I got admission here, accepted it back in Niagara-on-the-Lake at the Niagara College, so I came to Canada.
Did you have any family here, or you were just thrusted into a whole new world by yourself?
Mostly all by myself. I do know a few people, but they're all like in Vancouver or out west here, so nobody really there that I can talk to or go and see. So it was mostly by myself.
Did you find yourself alone some days, not able to adapt to Canadian people right away?
So when I first came in, everything was new to me. Now the big difference when I first got here was that where I come from, there's a lot of people, it's big cities. So going to Niagara-on-the-Lake, where you're just surrounded by wineries, it wasn't there much, and I kind of first thought, what the heck, where did I end up here? And for the first off, I had a few rough days first to begin with, and after that, a lot of people helped me along the way, and eventually I settled down, and it was, after that, it wasn't a great, but for the first month and a half, I never left home before, so it was a homesickening. There was a thought, I brought a return ticket. If I don't like it, I'm going to go back, and I was going back, and one of the counselors at the college convinced me to take a few counseling sessions with him, and I did, and he kind of involved me into volunteering with different international events at the college where you have all international students. And from there it took off, and that was then, and I'm still here now.
Right on. And then tell us the story about how you came to your first CFL game.
So like I said, when I first came in, I didn't have any place to live, and due to some miscommunication, my residence here, my place to live was not arranged, and as a result, I ended up in college residence lounge for a night, and the next day the manager came in, he made a few calls, and there was a couple of units empty, but I have to share with them, and it depends on the people who already live there if they're willing to take me in. And as a result, there was a young Italian couple who was also going to the college there, and they took me in, and I stayed with them. And that's when they asked me if I want to go to a football game. I said, sure. Now, considering where I come from, football is soccer. So I said, oh, of course, I'll go. And I went with them and kind of saw the field. I wasn't expecting that. But I thought maybe, maybe the line looked like we don't really call football back home. It's more of a rugby field. That's what came to mind. I said, maybe they're just playing on it, and kind of sat on. And it was the first game at I believe it was a Labor Day match, a rematch. I don't remember exactly. It was Toronto and Hamilton Tiger Cat at the Ivory Wayne Stadium.
Now, for somebody that was expecting soccer to come to a football game, and you've never been to a CFL game before, and when the Tiger Cats and the Argos play, it's like when the Eskimos and the Stamps play. What was the atmosphere for somebody the first time ever at a CFL game? Tell us about the atmosphere in the stadium and what you thought of it afterwards, if this was something you could get into.
So when I first went to the game, first of all, I wasn't expecting it. I didn't really know what to think of it. I don't know anything about the game itself. But it was a great atmosphere and a lot of people there, and they seemed to be enjoying it. But that time, my mind and everything just coming new to the country and adjusting everything, learning the game or anything wasn't in my mind. So I saw that game, but after that, I never really took interest in it and never really watched. So I never read about CFL or anything unless I came to Edmonton back in 2007.
So when you came to Edmonton, then let's fast forward a bit. When you came to Edmonton in 2007, that's when you really got into the Canadian Football League?
When I moved here at that time, it was summer, so the training camps, the rookie season, the rookie training camps were about to start. So you hear in the news, I believe the coverage of the CFL was a lot more here than it was back that I saw in Hamilton. Of course, I didn't take much interest there, so I can't really comment on that. So, this is where I really started looking into CFL then. And I moved with a guy who was from Saskatchewan and a Rider fan, and he was the first one who kind of started teaching me about football.
Okay, so now you're in Edmonton. You're living with a guy from Saskatchewan. Tell us about how he got you to come to your first Eskimos game.
So we didn't really actually go to the live game. It was more likely just on a weekend, just sitting at home, and there was a CFL games going on, so he would just call me. We'll have a supper together, and he will tell me a little bit about the rules, how the game is played, and that's how I took off. And I started watching games by myself and learning more and more, reading about it.
Did you ever find yourself confused?
First in the starting itself, but it's just, I believe that if you don't know anything, you're always confused what's going on. But once I started to know the game, I started watching regularly, it wasn't an issue.
So now let's fast forward now to 2015. You're now living in Edmonton. You're comfortable here. You've got friends here. Have you started a family?
Yes, I just got married back in January.
Oh, right on. Cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And is this something that you want to get your family into? Are they interested in Edmonton Eskimos Canadian Football League?
Back in, I got married in India. I was there, and they, like I said before earlier, that they really don't know what football is. When you say football, it's automatically soccer there. So they think it's rugby. That's what they really call football there. So I was back in there. I was able to sit with my wife and watch the Super Bowl and kind of introduce her a little bit to the game. So she has absolutely no problem, but it might have to teach her a few things about it.
It's kind of like the full circle, right?
Yeah.
You come to Canada, and then somebody taught you about the game, and then now you're able to teach somebody else who is not familiar with their game. So really, it's almost like the perfect full circle. What do you look forward to in 2015 with the Eskimos?
Well, we had a great last year, and I was really enjoyed it. I've been a season ticket holder, and since 2011, since then I haven't missed any home games. And back in 2013, I kind of made another step that I'm going to take one road game every year. So I kind of started doing. It's a great team from last year, and going forward, it looks like a good team. The only problem I have is we have to figure out a way to beat Calgary. Once we can do that, we are golden.
The Calgary Stampeders, that comes up all the time. How can the Eskimos beat the Calgary Stampeders? Did you go to Labor Day?
Yes, I did. Sorry, not the Labor Day. I went for the Western semifinal. But I went to the rematch here at the Commonwealth.
You know, those Calgary fans, for a team that went 15-3 and won the Grey Cup, you have to give them credit. They're mouthy. They are mouthy. And we were sitting at the Western Final there, and you know how Section O does. We were trying to light the firestorm and whatnot, and then we're getting blown out, so you can't really have an argument with these guys. But you know what? I'm excited for Calgary. I'm excited for their fans. I'm going to be even more excited come Labor Day when we smoke them out of the water and then smoke them back in the rematch. I want to see them cry. I want to see them cry into their hands because you know what? We're 0-4 against Calgary last year and then 0-1,000,000 in the last couple of years when it comes to playing the Stampeders. I think the ultimate turnaround for the Eskimos this year, I understand we went 12-6 and we started 7-1 with our defense, but the litmus test is if we beat the Calgary Stampeders, we have an absolute guarantee of a real good shot of winning the Grey Cup. And I would like to see the Eskimos win the Grey Cup. You would like to see the Eskimos win the Grey Cup. I'm sure everybody else here would like to see the Eskimos win the Grey Cup. And it would kind of be a fitting story because the last time the Eskimos won the Grey Cup was 2005 and you were just new into Canada and weren't really familiar what was going around. If the Eskimos win the Grey Cup in 2015, now that you're familiar with their game, what would your emotion and feeling be on that?
You know what? It'll be a great feeling. It's something I don't know how to express the feeling about that, but it'll be quite something.
Who do you sit with at the football games?
You know what? I started first, back in when I first attended the first Grey Cup back here in Edmonton. The next year, the Eskimos had they had a few promotions going on. They sell season tickets for $99 a seat. Me and my friend bought a seat, so he was there with me for a couple of years, and then he quit. So I changed my seat. Now I sit it's a very friendly section, and all of the people that sit around me are like season ticket holders for a very long time.
Now, the one question I have to ask, are you sitting on your hands at the game, or are you making just as much noise as the person next to you?
I make noise as much as the person next to me. I have another couple who was there. Their kids was just born when I got those seats, and now they're about 4, 5, 6 years old. I've seen them growing, and they are loud.
See, that's what I like to see. We need people in the stands making noise because you know what? I don't care what anybody says about the stands being far away from the field because of the track. The defense, if we get all 35, 40,000 people making noise on the defense, we can definitely alter the course of the game. That's it. I appreciate the interview we did. Thanks for coming on our show. Any last things you'd like to say?
Well, thanks for having me for your very first episode. It was a great pleasure talking to you, and hoping to see all the Eskimo fans loud and proud at the Commonwealth as much as we can get there, and go Esko.
What a great story. Something that you guys might not also be familiar with is Lakbir actually became a Canadian citizen over the wintertime. So congratulations to him. Welcome aboard. Get your Molson Canadian and some ketchup chips and have at her in 2015. What a great story. Coming to a country that you're unfamiliar with and then finding unity with fellow Canadians in the Canadian Football League. This is a league of diversity, a league of tolerance, and more importantly, a league of acceptance. And we can all be one, except Rider fans. No, we don't accept you. I'm sorry, you guys are still on the outside. Just buy our beer at Commonwealth. Buy our beer, spend your money here, get back to Saskatchewan where you belong. You got no time. Anyway, that's it here. Tickets still available for the June 13th game in Fort Mac. Esks Riders, 8 p.m. Eskimos have some travel options up. The Section O bus isn't going. Unfortunately, not many people booked on it, so it is what it is. We'll see you guys next week, episode 2. We're going to have some going-ons from Fan Day. Everybody interviewing up Fan Day. Hit it up. So, all right, guys, take care. We'll see you all. Episode 2, Section O Podcast.